Red and blue lights flash behind you. Your hands tighten on the steering wheel. The officer walks up, calm, confident, and says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" You answer. And just like that, the situation starts changing. But here's what most people don't realize. Not everything you hear during a traffic stop is always the full truth. Police are trained to control conversations, gather information, and sometimes bend the narrative to get results. That doesn't always mean something illegal is happening, but it does mean you need to stay alert. Today, I'm going to break down heavy checkmark 7 major signs. An officer might not be telling the full truth heavy checkmark, what those signs actually mean legally heavy checkmark, and exactly what you should do in that moment, not with attitude, not with arguments, but with control. Because the person who stays calm is the one who stays protected. Balance Scale Part 1, the 7 Signs 1. The story keeps changing. Let's start with the most obvious sign. You get pulled over. The officer says, "You were speeding." 5 minutes later, the story changes. "I actually stopped you because of your brake light." That shift matters more than you think. A traffic stop must start with a clear reason. When that reason changes, it can signal uncertainty or something being adjusted after the fact. Performing arts example dialogue. Officer, "You were going a little fast back there." Driver, "Okay." 5 minutes later, officer, "Your vehicle also has equipment issues." Now, suddenly, there are multiple reasons. Backhand index pointing right. What this could mean. They're trying to strengthen justification after the stop already happened. Backhand index pointing right. What you do. Stay calm. Don't argue. Just mentally note it. Because later, consistency matters in court. 2. Vague reasons with no details. Sometimes you'll hear, "I stopped you for safety concerns." That sounds serious, but also unclear. Law enforcement usually needs specific observations, not just general feelings. Performing arts example. Driver, "What was the issue, officer?" Officer, "Just making sure everything looks safe." That's not a clear explanation. Backhand index pointing right. Red flag. No specific violation mentioned. Backhand index pointing right. What you do, you can calmly ask, "Can you clarify the reason for the stop?" Simple, respectful, controlled. 3. Pressure to let them search. This is where things escalate fast. You might hear, "If you've got nothing to hide, you won't mind me checking, right?" Or worse, "If you say no, I'll just get a warrant." Performing arts example. Officer, "Let me take a quick look in your car." Driver, "I'd prefer not to." Officer, "That's going to make things harder for you." Backhand index pointing right. That's pressure. Backhand index pointing right. Reality. Refusing consent is not illegal. Backhand index pointing right. What you say. "I do not consent to any searches." Calm, clear, no extra words. 4. Misstating your rights. Some drivers hear things like, "You have to answer my questions." That's not fully accurate. You are required to provide heavy checkmark license, heavy checkmark registration, but not a full conversation about your life. Performing arts example. Officer, "Where are you coming from?" Driver, "I'd prefer not to answer any questions." Backhand index pointing right. That's legal. Backhand index pointing right. Key point. Silence is not guilt. It's protection. 5. Fake confidence about evidence. Sometimes officers act like they already know everything. "I can smell something. K9 already alerted." Even if you're unsure, that's true. Performing arts example. Officer, "We already have enough to search." Driver, "I do not consent." Backhand index pointing right. Why this happens. To see if you panic and give permission. Backhand index pointing right. What you do. Stay steady. Don't react emotionally. 6. Legal statements that don't sound right. You might hear, "The law says I can search your car right now." But no explanation follows. Backhand index pointing right. Real legal authority usually comes with heavy checkmark clear reasoning, heavy checkmark specific explanation. Performing arts example. Driver, "Under what law?" Officer, "Just standard procedure." That's vague and important to remember. 7. Body language versus words don't match. Sometimes the biggest clue isn't what they say. It's how they act. Nervous tone, changing posture, avoiding direct answers. Backhand index pointing right. These don't prove lying, but they signal something isn't aligned. Balance Scale Part 2. Why this happens, here's the truth. Police are allowed to use certain psychological tactics. They can heavy checkmark, ask strategic questions, heavy checkmark test your reactions, heavy checkmark push for information, but they cannot crossmark force consent, crossmark violate your rights. The line between the two? That's where awareness matters. Brain Part 3. What you should do when things feel off. Heavy checkmark stay calm, heavy checkmark keep hands visible, heavy checkmark speak less, not more performing arts smart responses. I prefer to remain silent. I do not consent to searches. Am I free to go? No arguing. No attitude. Just control. Bar chart Part 4. After the stop, what you do after matters just as much. Heavy checkmark, write down details, heavy checkmark save, any footage heavy checkmark, remember what was said because small details become big evidence later. Warning Part 5. Common MYTHS crossmark. If a cop lies, the case is gone. Not always true crossmark. Being friendly protects you. Not always crossmark. Silence looks guilty. Legally false. Truth is, your behavior matters more than your words. Watch for heavy checkmark changing stories, heavy checkmark vague reasons, heavy checkmark pressure tactics, heavy checkmark misstated rights, heavy checkmark fake urgency. If you see these, slow down mentally, not physically. Traffic stops aren't just about driving. They're about control. The officer controls the stop, but you control your words, your reactions, and your decisions. Stay calm, stay aware, stay protected. If this helped you, hit like, subscribe, and stay informed, because the more you know, the safer you are.